I'm Junko, the parent architect of BrightPath care navigation platform, and I believe there is a victory for children of autism when communities are informed and empowered.
You're tuning into the Bright Path podcast with Junko Gardner, a Fortune 500 product designer and autism mom who is on a mission to equip families navigating early stage intervention and autism treatment programs. Today we're here with Melissa Parker, who started the Parker Foundation. She also has an amazing son, Brendan, who's 19 years old. Junko, can you get us started and kick us off with where your heart is in this product and what it is that you're doing with autism families today?
Sure. Thank you, Jenna, for the intro. I've developed BrightPath to help navigate autism families through their journey, especially in early stage of diagnosis. It's first 30 to 60 days or even 90 days are chaotic. It's a lot on their mind, the concerns, sometimes trauma of getting diagnosis, but it's more than anything just to find the best resources for their child as quickly as possible. So I'm developing Bright Paths to help families navigate that resources and quickly, help them connect quickly with the resources they need and give them guidance what they need to do next, what's coming up. So with the help of technology, I'm hoping to help as many families as possible. And that's my mission. Yeah.
And June, you are such a solutions-focused mother, and it's beautiful to be here with Melissa Parker, who's also a solutions-focused mother. Both of you, had sons with autism, and you took it upon yourself to advocate for your child, but also to help advocate for other families. Melissa, can you introduce us to you, the solutions that you've brought to the table for families who have children with autism as well?
Sure. I'm Melissa Parker, and I'm a registered nurse, and I'm also co-founder of the Parker Foundation for Autism and Child Development. We've been serving Brevard County and surrounding counties for 10 years now, which is just amazing. I cannot believe it's been that long, but it has been one amazing journey, and the growth that we've seen here in Brevard County, and that's widely due to our amazing community that we have here. It's just amazing to witness. So I'm so thankful to be a part of it and to watch it grow. So we do free sports, arts, education, social events and programs, not only for children and families touched by autism and special needs, but also for the community at large, because we really want to create opportunities for families to connect with our community. So that way there's better understanding, we're supported more, and just understood when we have our children out there, because that's what's so important. We may want to just kind of hide and we don't feel like people are going to understand, and it can be very stressful for us. And also to witness people who don't understand out there in the community. And that's hard for us. So I just really want to break down those walls and barriers and, bring everyone together so that everyone can be better understood and accepted.
Absolutely. And Melissa, you have the Parker Foundation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the great programs through that is the Buddy program, which focuses on mentorship for children with autism. Can you share more about that?
Right. So it's the Be a Buddy program, the Be a Buddy initiative. And so we mentor students here. A lot of them are student athletes, but it's not all student athletes. So we try to have something available for our kids that would be for anything like sports, arts, dance, just social activities, roller skating. We just had a roller skating event as well. But we want to give kids the opportunities to connect with their peers, because as we know, as autism moms out there, the best way that our children can really learn and grow and understand how to act in, society is to be out there and have those experiences with their peers. And in the school system, I don't think that they really get that opportunity so much. They're in different classrooms a lot of times, unless they can be included in the main typical and mainstreamed in the main typical classrooms. So we just want to really provide that opportunity. So a lot of times it's just getting them out there doing something fun that they want to do. So if they love baseball, once you get kids of all abilities on the baseball field, everything else just goes away. They're all just kids having a great time out there. and that's the best way for them to learn and to connect. So this is a great growth opportunity for all children. Not only are children with special needs and with autism, they're going to learn from that social peer modeling, but also, for our neurotypical children out there, it's great for them to be exposed to people of all abilities. They learn so much from this and they grow as leaders. And so that's what we try to do through our Be a Buddy initiative. And we have buddy ambassadors, which are at an even higher level for these young volunteers. So they're out there. They actually work very closely with me to help bring new programs to the Parker Foundation and also to expand on them. So a couple of the buddy ambassadors that we have right now, they're very into STEM. So they're into science and technology. So they've taken our art programs to the next level by introducing some fun science and technology, some STEM activities into our art programs, and the families absolutely love it. So this is just really taking those high level students that we have here in Brevard County and giving them the opportunity to thrive at an even higher level. I give them the opportunity too at our large events, our large community events, such as our Be a Buddy 5K and also our gala event that we have every year. They are a part of that event and a part of our program that we have. So I give them the floor. I give them the opportunity to speak in front of hundreds of people here in the community so that they can share their experience on what the Parker Foundation has given to them. So I just love to see what it brings. It teaches me as much as it teaches them.
Yeah. And the Be a Buddy initiative is such a bright spot in our community. And we're going to have Junko kick us off with questions for you and your family. But when we think about the audience for this conversation that we're having right now, there are parents, mothers, fathers who are navigating autism. They're in the very early stages. And sometimes those bright spots, they're really hard to find. You know, a lot of families struggle with not knowing what to do and really also feeling like no matter what they do, it's the wrong thing. We're seeing that in a lot of our conversations. So, Junko, can you kick us off with the first question here?
Sure. Thanks, Melissa, for sharing your amazing work. Now, I like to start each episode with what's top of mind for a guest, almost like you're here, pin drop. What topic, emotion, or challenge is most present for your family right now? Please share what's top of your mind.
Yeah, so for us right now, Brendan is 19. So he is going through a new transition. So one of the biggest transitions that we had was going through the diagnosis, trying to figure out what education was going to look like. And that was very, very difficult. Not only that, just trying to understand and accept the diagnosis and help him as best as we could, Now we're going through a new transition. He's becoming a young man, and education is still something that we are working on. And, until the age of 22, they can get educational services here. So, but still, it's not always easy to find the right fit. So we go year by year. And I think a lot of families do this because our children change and their needs change. And so we just have to be flexible. I think that's something that we definitely learn as autism parents. I think any parent needs to learn how to be flexible, right? But we do over and above that. So for Brendan right now, safety is a concern because he is a young man, and he wants to do different things that he should be doing at his age, but I never want to put limitations on him, but he wants to drive a car, what do I do about that? He wants to go walk when he wants to, but it's not safe because he doesn't understand the surroundings. He could get lost. He can't just leave the house by himself. That's where the challenge is, that we're dealing with right now. So really working closely with our police departments here locally so that they know Brendan if he were to wander from the house, and just making sure that we have a secure property for him so that we make sure that he's safe at all times. Making sure, and someone needs to be here with Brendan at all times. So if I'm not able to be here, I need to make sure that I have someone that's capable, to be able to make sure that he's going to be safe when he's here. He is very independent, and which is amazing, but really just looking at what's next for him. And I think a lot of us at this age, when they're going through this bridge, this transition into adulthood, we're nervous and a little scared and just wondering what that next step is going to look like. Are they going to be able to live independently? Are they going to be able to have a job? Are they going to be here at home? Who's going to help take care of them in the long term? What are we going to be able to do with who's going to care for him day to day? I work inside the home so that I can be here and be flexible. So I've had to kind of transition my work and my career to be able to have flexibility. So that's something that's very important, for us families with special needs and autism that maybe a lot of people don't have to, kind of think about. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So the next question is, I call this the take us there moment. Paint a scene that best captures who your child is and the way Brandon sees and experiences the world in his own unique ways.
So Brendan does not care about objects. He doesn't care about, the only thing he cares about, like he loves his iPad. Okay, he loves his iPad, but he loves to listen to music on his iPad and watch videos and look at family pictures. Family is very important to my sidekick and my helper. He loves to help around the house. He is a happy helper. I tell him that all the time. And another thing I like to say to him is hard work is good work, because he is a hard worker. He will help me do any chore around the house. We do it together. We try to have fun with it together. And he's just so positive about it, which I think is so great. I love his work ethic. So that being said, he does need to be he needs to be kind of overseen while he's doing it. So he may get unsure about the steps that he has to take. So we just talk about it. And then now I see him doing a lot of things independently around the house. Like he'll just take the garbage out without me asking. He does the dishes. He loves to do that. Cleans up the kitchen on his own. I'm like, wow, this is so great, Brendan. I didn't even ask you to do that. But he's not like into typical things like at his age. He doesn't really like to hang out with friends. I think social time is very stressful for him. He does repeat back what you have to say. He is verbal, but it is scripted a lot. So he can have that initial, how are you? It's, I'm fine. But when it gets into that deep conversation, it's very stressful for him. So it takes a lot out of him and he really has to work hard. And I think it tires him out. So we do social activities, but it's usually for shorter periods of time, for like maybe an hour max, which is interesting because I created the Parker Foundation for him, and I think our events that we have are the most challenging for him. So, but it's good for him. He needs to not just be in the house in his safe zone all the time. So I have to pull him out of it, but that's so great is that I've been able to create these spaces for him and for other families that are in the same boat. But for Brendan, he loves to go out. He loves to travel. He's a great traveler. So he likes to go out and do things. So he just doesn't like toys. He never really did. He likes fidget toys, but that's more of something just like a nervous energy kind of thing that he has. So, but he doesn't like to play video games or anything like that. It's more about knowing the schedule. He's our schedule guy in the house. He knows where everybody is, when they're supposed to be home. He likes to track them on the phone and make sure that he can see where they're at. I guess it just kind of relieves his anxiety a little bit, just knowing where his people are. And once everybody's back where they're supposed to be, then he can relax. And he loves swimming. So Special Olympics too has been really great for Brendan. They are an amazing resource here. And, obviously they're a global resource. So we do love to collaborate with all of these organizations, but for Brendan, Special Olympics has been so great. He loves to swim, so he's on the swim team, and he also loves tennis. So he'll be taking part in the tennis that they have. So I really love it. I didn't think that Brendan at his level would be able to compete in Special Olympics. I just wasn't sure until very recently. I learned more about it and understood that they can really adapt it to all levels, which is really great.
That's amazing. Thank you. What a wonderful, I can't wait to meet Brandon. Hearing all these wonderful things about it. So the next segment is called Diagnosis Unlocked. Take us back to the moment your child received the diagnosis. How did your provider respond and how did you respond?
Well, Brennan was diagnosed at the age of 4, and that's a little late nowadays. And think about it, this is some time ago now. He's 19. So this is some time ago, it was 15 years ago. So when I connected with the school system, because Brendan he couldn't function in a typical preschool. So that's how I first knew, because he would have meltdowns whenever they would try to transition from one activity to the next. And he couldn't get potty trained either. We had a really difficult time with potty training. So I already knew, especially as a nurse, and his lack of communication, very limited communication and eye contact once he regressed. So these are all the challenges that we were dealing with, and working with his pediatrician. We had already started putting him into therapies that he needed, speech therapies. These are things that whenever have developmental delays, is what they'll first call it, you start these things early on. The reason we went ahead and got the diagnosis was because it was very clear what was happening and that he needed one-on-one intensive ABA therapy. So we did get the diagnosis. It wasn't a surprise. I think it was more difficult for my husband. I think just really knowing and having a name and a term, it does help you to have some closure to it, because you can really do, focus on what you need to do and try to get started on those resources. But also it's hard as a parent to really understand what you're up against and not know what you're up against and get the realization that it's going to be different than you had expected for your child. So I think those are the emotions, even though we knew what was coming, we did get that diagnosis, but starting in therapy was very good for us. So not only did they target Brendan's aggressive behaviors, because we had our daughter as well, and she was very young and she wanted to play with her brother. And every time she would try to enter his world, he couldn't handle it, so he would lash out at her. And it was very scary and very sad to see on both sides, because no child wants to act like that. This is not typical behavior for a child. And it's so difficult to see your child struggling like that. And it's going to bring me to tears because I'm going back to that moment, and so I think just having hope that when you're working with these professionals and they understand, and, you can see progress in your child where he's starting to be able to not only communicate more, but connect more and overcome these behaviors, these aggressive behaviors, these scary behaviors that no child should have to go through. When you see some improvement, it really is amazing, and not only that, but also making community connections with other families. So that was what was so difficult, because I know we've talked about this before when we had our meeting, and how we got, it's upsetting, it gets you depressed when you see this. It's really difficult because you can't just take your kid out to a play date. It's really hard. So when you meet other families that get it and they're going through the same thing, you lock arms together and you make these bonds, and it's so amazing. And that's something that I learned, is that as a nurse, I thought I could do this. I can get him the therapies. I can work with him, and I can pull him out of it on my own. And guess what? I can't do it on my own, and that's not good for anyone. And so that was what, the hope that I got was also just in the friendships that I made with other families and being able to navigate it together and have people that you can really have these conversations with, and going out and having coffee with moms that got it, and sharing resources together. So that's what it looked like for us. And thank goodness, I know ABA may not be a solution for everyone. Everybody, you have to try different things to see what's going to be a fit for your child. For Brendan, it worked. So we got him to a certain level and he aged out of early intervention, and then off we go, to the next stage, which was elementary school. So that's what our early intervention and that diagnosis time looked like.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I was holding tears myself as I listened to your experience, sharing experience. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. So a couple more questions. So, you have built incredible resources here in Brevard County. Can you tell us about the moment? I know, you already shared us what great work you do, your organization does, but can you tell us about the moment when you know the Parker Foundation would make an impact and how?
Sure. It's very clear. Ted and I knew we became big supporters of organizations here locally that were providing resources for families, but we knew we wanted to do more. We didn't know what that was going to look like, whether we were just going to have a private foundation where we could supply, funding for families. But we got a call from the West Melbourne Little League. I don't even know how they found our information, but they did. And they said, we have a challenger league and we're looking for coaches and someone to start a team and a sponsor. So Ted and I being athletes, said, hey, this is a great thing. We can do this. We've got some other families that we're connected with and let's get a little team together. And we invited the siblings out on to take part in it so that we could have some of that peer modeling. And also the siblings had grown close together, which is so important for them to do, to know that they're not alone and that they, have support as well. So it really was a family model that kind of evolved out of this first team. And it was just magic out there. It was so amazing. It was great to see our kids out there, enjoying their time out on the field, being out in the fresh air, being a part of a team, playing with their friends, playing with their siblings. And that's when we knew that this model was something that we could work with. And not only that, but the organization where Brennan was going through for ABA therapy, they had a great social skills program. And that was one thing that we were afraid of. We're like, where are we going to get the social skills from now that we've aged out? So they had used other teams, college teams, to come out and buddy the kids. And I just thought, okay, this is something we could do. We could do this with elementary, junior high, high school teams, West Melbourne Little League. We still work with them, and we will be having our next spring session starting in 2026. I'm really excited. But they help us. They get their teams, their other teams to come out and be our buddies. So each week, a different team comes out and buddies with us, which is so amazing. So this was the model. This is how everything came about through the Parker Foundation. And I think since then we've just grown. We can have any sport where a team wants to be a part of it, and we have a location for it. So we travel all around Brevard County, depending on the location and the community support that we have. But out of that, as an artist, I wanted to bring, and we have great artists here throughout Brevard County who just love to support with their time and talents. So we were able to connect there, and that's where our arts program started. And then connecting with the sheriff's office and other entities here to really bring that education, advocacy work, and safety. So that's where it all grew. And the Be a Buddy initiative obviously grew out of that as well. So I'm really excited and thrilled. We have new opportunities all the time. And I have to say, it's very humbling when some of the larger organizations are coming to you and asking, and not only thanking you for your work and that you do, but also wanting to partner with you. So I think that's just so amazing and such, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't even know how to explain it or put it into words, because it's just, I watch it unfold. I do the work very heavily. I volunteer all of my time with the Parker Foundation, and that's just something that I love to do. And to see it all unfold like this and the community support, and to be getting these open doors opening all the time is so amazing. So I watch it unfold right in front of my eyes, and the doors open, and I think it's so great.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing story and journey. Thank you. So the last question really is, if you could go back in time, what tool, resource, or single piece of advice would you give yourself during that early diagnosis phase, which, is can be very, very tough, right? Emotionally and physically. Yeah, if you can tell us about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think we covered it a little bit in that diagnosis phase because what I needed to know was that I didn't have to go through it alone. I thought because I really pulled myself away from everyone. I went through kind of a depression. I just did not feel it was very stressful for me if I were to take him out, into public. And I just wanted to hide. And that's not good for anyone. It's not good for him. It's not good for, me or my family or any of us. So I would say to myself, you need your community, you need your people, you need that support. So get out there and find it however you can, make those friends, make those connections, join groups. There's a lot of groups out there. Not everybody's on social media, but Facebook is a great way to be able to connect with others and find those support groups. But if you can't find those, just find different organizations. There's lots of them. If you go research it, there's a lot of different resources available to you where you can find that community support and make those friends.
We invite you to subscribe and get involved. At Bright Path, we believe the future of autism care is being rewritten by the people living it every day, and we'd love for you to be part of that change.